Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. If you are new here, I want to say thank you for watching and tuning in and watching the show. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please make sure that you do. I've been watching the analytics. I'm trying to learn how to read the analytics on Facebook. What the hell's it called? Trying to learn how to read the analytics on the YouTube, and I see that there are more new people that are watching, which is great, but the new people haven't subscribed. So if you are not a subscriber, please make sure you do. And thank you guys for watching the show. We'll talk to you soon. All right, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today we are in Holyoke, Massachusetts, not far from the hometown, and I have with me Dave Kopacz. Dave, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Charlie. I can't believe it. I'm in the presence of Second Amendment greatness here.
Well, I don't know about greatness. It's not horrible. Let's put it that way. I've known about you for the last few years. You've been doing a lot of stuff in Western Massachusetts, and I think we met more when my buddy Steve was running for office.
Yeah,
I know we met at a couple of his events.
Yeah,
and you've got some events you've been doing for 11 years now, I think. Right?
Actually, this is going to be our 9th annual.
9th, okay. I shot it.
Annual Flag Day Second Amendment rally.
Very cool.
That started out as, believe it or not, a small fundraiser for our town's RTC.
Yeah.
And we started putting it together, myself and a couple of members. And right away we had a lot of party people wanted us to put the political big shots on the agenda for our speakers. And I started a kind of a standing rule, which stands to this day, is no politicians get a mic.
Nice.
We invite them all. We want them to be sitting there and listening, but no mic for you. And we got a lot of backlash, but we put together our agenda and we had a stellar event. And the second year, oddly enough, the very ones that were telling people not to go to our rally, that we had to have political figures up there, took the name of the event, rescheduled it another sportsman's club, and filled their agenda with politicians.
And how did that work out?
With a couple of the guys went over there to check it out at about 1 o'clock, which, we're usually just about getting rolling. And they had 7 people, and most of them were their speakers. So we took creative control back. We've been having hundreds of guests show up. Wonderful speakers. Jan Morgan this year. We had a rain check from last year.
Nice.
She'll be back. Author Dan Wos will be with us this year.
I've had Dan on the show. He's a great guy.
Very, very knowledgeable guy, yes. And we've had wonderful past speakers as well. Sheriff Richard Mack has spoken at our event. The Finnecums, the Bundys, Mike Vanderbilt. Remember, he broke the Fast and Furious scandal.
Really?
Yes, he spoke at our very first rally, and what a guy, great patriot.
Very cool. So real quick, the Bundy. I always think of the Bundys as Al and Peg, but it's not Al and Peg.
Oh no, no, that's the Ranchers.
The Ranchers, okay.
Yeah, they came out, and what an ordeal that was, just flying out Carol and Clive and Bundy. Those poor folks were in the airport for hours. They made the husband sit in the back and the wife sit in the front. They couldn't even sit together. It was awful, but they came out. and had a wonderful time. The guests had a wonderful time hearing them. And I remember when we gave them a little tour of the area, went up by Knox Trail and Daniel Shays Highway and up to some of the museums there. And I asked them on the way to the airport to drop them off what was among the most memorable things in his visit to the Northeast. And he said when he came out of his hotel room in the morning, he just wandered off into the brush and into the woods. He grew up there in, Arizona, Nevada area. And he reached down and he said he picked up a handful of dark, black, fertile soil. And he said that there was probably his greatest memory of coming up here is how beautiful and fertile the soil was here.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Let's talk more about that later. Let's talk about you, and you're a very outspoken Second Amendment guy, and it's, to me, when I, knowing what I know about you, it's not just Second Amendment stuff. It's all liberty, it's all freedom, and Second Amendment stuff is included in that.
Yeah, I believe in the strength of the whole Constitution. Our founders made the First Amendment first and the second for a reason. I think they want us to use our voice and our intellect, our ability to talk like you and I are today, to solve the vast majority of our problems. Yeah. But never should we be defenseless. And that was something I grew up with. People miss a lot of subtleties, I think, sometimes, because some of my fondest gun-related memories is sitting on an old mossy stump with my grandfather hunting in the woods. I learned, that being honest and hardworking was what made a man. I learned how to treat a woman. I learned where war came from. I learned so much, and although I've hunted with my grandfather many times, we've never killed a single animal. And I really cherish those moments as they, although I had a gun in my hand, it was character building, and I knew from a very young age that was a tool and to be respected. Yeah. Today, it's the other way around. You see guns, the more they regulate, the more it's abused, it seems. Oh my gosh. Yeah, totally. I gotta say that I had, my father died when I was young, and the first couple guns that I inherited were my father's and my grandfather's. And my grandfather never took us hunting. I grew up with 4 sisters. He never took us hunting, but he did take us fishing. And I really wish, I would have enjoyed fishing with my grandfather. It was my grandfather and me and I don't know, 3 or 4 of my sisters, and it was always a mess. It was always a mess, and it was always a fiasco, and never really worked out well. So I kind of wish I had those, that I had those memories. I think the only real memory I have is one time I was smacked with a fish, so I don't like fish. And the other time, I don't know how my grandfather did this. I went to cast, and I probably didn't need to cast. We're on like a dam or something, and I went to cast, and I threw my fishing pole, and I ended up letting go of it. And I have no idea, but I do remember my grandfather was able to fish out the fishing pole. Wow, which I thought was pretty cool. Granddad to the rescue. Yeah, exactly. All right, so you had this history of going out and hunting and spending quality time, learning what it's like to be a man and to be free, and enjoyed that. And how does it turn into, where does it go from there? Well, history is there for us to learn from, and every nation, every society that has been disarmed, it has not gone well for them. We need to be able to defend ourselves on an individual basis. We keep using their words, and we're now at the point where we are elected, I don't like to call them officials, our public servants, will get up there and literally talk about this in terms of deer hunting and things like that. And although it is a nice side effect of everyone being able to be armed, is that you can certainly go out and feed yourself, But the Second Amendment was never about really anything that fisheries and wildlife has to do with. It was about killing tyrants, to be honest, and that sometimes makes people bristle, but there is tyranny in the world.
There is.
And this will give us a vote right to the last man. So, and it's a great deterrent. Like fences make good neighbors, a well-armed society is a polite society. By way of comparison, when I walk into I got property in New Hampshire, and I walk into my general store up there with my sidearm on my side. Mm-hmm. I sit down with the police chief in my town, usually on Saturdays, and have a cup of coffee with him. And no one thinks anything different. If I were to do that here, imagine walking into a restaurant or and to grab some a coffee on your way to work with a sidearm on.
Yeah, people would freak out.
And it's ingrained in them. The people up in New Hampshire, it's like wearing boots. So what we lost, we can get back. But the people have to be assertive and begin talking about the Second Amendment within the context that it's supposed to be. And it's not a frightening thing. It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. I got to tell you, by the way, I'm not a hat guy, but I love your hat.
Oh, do you?
Yes, show your hat into the... Make America constitutional again.
Yes.
I love that. Where did you get that?
A friend gave that to us at one of our past Second Amendment rallies, actually.
Very cool. I dig it, man. I think that's awesome. So how does all this parlay into how do you get involved? You've got a radio show?
Yeah, it actually started years ago as it was a homeschool project with my sons. There was a FM station that came online, and I looked it up to see if it was still there, and it was. And put in a program proposal, and I had to drive my kids there an hour one way and an hour back every week, and I said, maybe I'll put in my own, and that was the beginning of Red Pill Politics. It was
very cool.
FM radio, but get a load of this, it was out of Northampton.
Which is a very liberal town.
Oh my goodness.
Must have broke out in hives.
Yes, indeed. It was amazing. We had at least 3 programmers on the network there that were openly socialist. And in fact, I was invited on, there was one of them said, you got to come on my show. I see you out there hammering on big pharma and big agribusiness and all these big corporations, and then you turn around and advocate for a free market, and their heads were about to pop. So I took up the challenge, and I held my own, and every caller and every programmer, I brought them around to the constitutional limitations that are supposed to be on government, the freedom and liberty that arises in we the people to be able to deal and prosper and maximize for the whole of us. It's when you look at it like free market economics, the freedom in the economy is like freedom in the Second Amendment too. And the more liberty we have, the most creative amongst us, those economic geniuses and those entrepreneurs that will drive that system, have got to be unleashed. And we looked at the government regulation as they're becoming limitations on the people, not limitations on the government. But it started there, and now I'm blogging. I got 2 programs a week that I do. One with my wife on Sundays from 7 to 9. And then I got a late night where I can kind of let my hair down on Saturdays, Republic Broadcasting Network, Saturdays from 10 to midnight.
Very cool. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. We're in Western Massachusetts. It's very, very left. Do you have a lot of people listen to the show? Do a lot of people tune in and call in?
I get in one of the Saturday program, I get calls from all over the nation, Canada. So people are listening. Awesome. And we're starting with the Canada callers. We're able to talk about some of the similarities that we're seeing with respect to the shutdowns, for example. Comparing how aggressive governments are on the people of these two nations based on their access to guns.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of gun control up in Canada, right?
Indeed there is.
Yeah, and people are pushing for that down here. You know, we just had this shooting in a subway in New York City, and it was like when you go down the checklist of all the things that the anti-gun folks want, this guy broke every one of them. You know, he I don't know if he was I heard some stuff that said he shouldn't have had a gun. I heard he bought it, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago in Wisconsin, and then he moved from Wisconsin to Philadelphia. But he got on a train he got a rental car at U-Haul in Philly and drove up to New York City. It's illegal to have a gun in New York City unless you have a permit, and he didn't look like one of the privileged people that have gun permits in New York City. So that was illegal. He did abide by the 10-round magazine restriction. He fired off, I think it said he had three or four magazines, the 10-round magazines.
Yeah.
But all of this, like all of the gun control they have in New York City, he broke all these laws. He broke every single one of them. And the anti-gun wackos want to come after you and I because they put him in. They label him as a gun owner, and they want to put us at his level of because we have a gun. They think we're criminals and we do illegal activities and we want to kill people, and it's all crazy talk.
It is, and it doesn't always. You know, they have to change and pigeonhole our focus almost every time, because if you look at another bad incident, you know, evil people will do what evil people will do.
They will do evil stuff.
Some of them will go out and actually get a license, rightfully purchase a weapon, and then abuse that privilege, that right. We've seen both cases where everything is illegal. They're not licensed. They get the gun illegally. Everything is illegal. And we've also seen terrible people do terrible things that have licenses. So it really, you know, it brings your focus. If you step back a little bit, you can focus on what the problem is, and it's evil people.
Yeah.
It's the thoughts and the things that push people to do those things, not the firearm. It's incidental, because those people, in the absence of a firearm, will still pick up a baseball bat. We'll burn your house down. There's what made that person think those thoughts. And we start to get closer to solving the problem. If there's to be a total solution, sometimes, I guess we got to be adults and practical, and sometimes people are just going to do those things, and you can't regulate for evil. We're told about that, right?
Right. You can't regulate this. And I saw a video of a woman that went to testify in Arizona. I don't know if you saw this. Her name was Lauren Snyder, and I'm hoping to get her. She's in Arizona. I'm hoping to get her on the show. But she went and testified against some anti-gun bill, and she was a victim of crimes. Someone tried to kidnap her, I think, at one point, and she told this Democrat politician who said he was pro-gun because he went hunting and he didn't feel the need to have a gun or to carry a gun because he went hunting and liked to go trap shooting. It's not about that. And I lost my train of thought. It's not about that. And these politicians do think that they're better than everyone else, and that we shouldn't have these. But I know where I was going. And he ended up saying that he was scared in the chamber where they conduct all their business. But he said he didn't know who was coming in. And I'm like, well, if you don't know who's coming in, then don't you want to have the ability to be able to protect yourself? Like that really makes some common sense.
Yeah. How could things have changed on Saturday with the subway shooting? Had the greatest number of intended victims actually been armed?
Right.
I don't think we see mass shootings where 10, 20 people are injured or killed. you'll hear of shootings where a person or two, and one of them is the assailant.
Right.
That's what could have happened on that subway. Is as soon as the first shot was fired, an American patriot could have neutralized the situation.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've seen that little meme and image that goes around, or graphic, whatever you want to call it. It says where there is when there's a mass shooting and there's no responders and you have to wait for the police, 14 people get shot. And then when there's a mass shooting and an armed citizen is there, an average of 2 people get shot. And the armed citizens are immediate responders. Back to the polite society, like you were talking about. We all know the saying, an armed society is polite society. And that's because if I know that you have a gun and I have a gun, I'm probably not going to do anything to make you mad, and you're probably not going to do anything to upset me.
Yeah.
And it's not that you would say something or do something offensive. You're not going to attack me because you know that I have the ability to protect myself.
Right.
And I'm not going to attack you because I know you have the ability to protect yourself.
That's absolutely true.
Right, and it's not even that I would think of that or do that. I'm not that kind of a person, but yeah.
By way of comparison, again, up in any of the stores in New Hampshire, and I typically like to support local businesses, so
yeah.
I'm always in those little mom and pops. And when you bump into, excuse me, please go ahead, going for. The people are very polite to each other. You walk into a Walmart in Massachusetts and, people mow you down with their carriage and curse you out on the way by.
Right. There's a reason we call ourselves massholes. Jeez. How is the gun culture right here in Western Mass?
I think Mass in general is portrayed as a very deep blue state, but that's only in our legislature. I think if we can ever gain control of election integrity again, things will begin to shift to what's more representative here in our state, which is 56% is unenrolled. They've decided the 2 major parties have not represented them well.
Yeah.
But, the people, both Democrat and Republican, I have friends and neighbors that are, gun owners. They're, again, it's like having a pair of boots to many people.
Yeah.
They're not loud about it because the culture in the state out of Bacon Hill is pretty anti-gun. So I think they just keep quiet. But ultimately, you're going to find Democrats like their right to bear arms as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of closet gun owners here in Massachusetts. I actually had one show with this woman. Her name is Dee Edmondson, and she worked for the Gun Owners Action League. She's an attorney, and I'm not sure if she still works for them, but she was at the time. Liberal Democrat and a lesbian, and she said it was easier to come out as a lesbian than it was to come out as a gun owner.
Yeah.
Like, that's a little ridiculous.
Right now, a lot of the chatter is about these ghost guns. I'm not sure of the actual statistics here, but how many of these mass shootings and crimes, violent crimes, are done with ghost guns? Is it a significant number?
I'm going to say no. What I'm not a fan of is I think the anti-gun folks, since they control the media and they're able to control the message, I think what they do is they tally up the what's the word I'm looking for? They tally up all of the guns that have serial numbers that are filed off on them, and the easy, simple definition of a ghost gun is a gun that doesn't have a serial number. So if someone steals a firearm, files off the serial number, and uses it in a crime and gets caught with it, oh my gosh, the anti-gun wackos start to call that a ghost gun. I'm trying to get away from you calling the ghost guns, or at least using a funny voice every time I say it, so that people know I'm not being serious, and that we know it's just a bunch of baloney. But they're just homemade firearms, and people have been doing this for forever. I'm gonna say I can neither confirm nor deny, but one of the firearms that I have seen in my family is made by CVA, Connecticut Valley Arms, and it's a muzzle loader. It's a Kentucky rifle, and it looks like something that you could make in a kit, and I think there's a possibility that that is how my father my father made it. Made it from a kit.
Yeah, I mean, you used to be able to buy guns in Sears catalogs.
Right. I always say that Lee Harvey Oswald. No, Al Capone ruined it for people buying them from a catalog, but Lee Harvey Oswald ruined it for having guns shipped to us. So that's ridiculous. All right. So red pill politics. How long have you been doing this? How long have you had the show?
It started out as a homeschool project for my boys. My youngest is 29 now, so it's been a few years.
Yeah.
But going back to 2009-ish is when we started. Did a number of years in FM radio. I did take a little break off and then fired right back up again as the social media world and video access became easier.
It really is so much easier. I'm one of these guys too that's taking advantage of doing all this stuff on your own.
But I had to get out of my comfort zone. I was in a position where the grade I was seeing around me, I just couldn't sleep at night. I had to at least, and with kids are a motivator for that. I don't ever want my kids to look at me and say, "Dad, why didn't you do something?" They're going to know that I did everything I could.
That's great. You've spoken out against some politicians as well, haven't you?
A number of times, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I've just the last couple of years, I've been up at the State House several times to speak in opposition to what the governor's been instituting or allowing to be instituted here in the state.
Yeah. He's not running again, which is good. We're talking about Charlie Baker.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Maura Healey's been positioning herself to jump right in there. Right. And that's probably the last thing we need if we're looking for constitutional reform here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Right. Yeah, I heard that, man, what did I hear? I heard that she had $21 million in her war chest or something crazy like this.
Yep, and I think she has the ability to pull in quite a bit of out-of-state money, too, to help get her in. Yeah, it's grim. It's grim being a Republican here, or certainly being an outspoken Republican. Yeah, I mean, we need some real constitutional pressure here in the state, for sure. We've let a lot of bad characters outside of the boundaries of the Commonwealth and unleash them on the rest of the nation. John Kerry and such come to mind.
Yeah.
So
we can go right down the list. John Kerry, Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah. How do we keep people like that from advancing? It's like the Constitutional Convention. Those folks are constantly on me to hop on board with them. And my argument is a couple of angles. One is we're limiting ourselves in doing so. What if, by chance, and this seems very abstract, but what if a real actual statesman presents themselves and we want to keep them in? By mandating term limits, we've actually eliminated a possible choice for us. But at the same time, I point out that their term limits are every election cycle. We shouldn't have to wait 2 or 3 terms to force them out. If we are unhappy with a public servant, we should be able to get them out the very first time they come up for re-election. The problem is we can't, and it forces me to look at what the real problem is, which is, again, is election integrity. Yeah. If that was in place, I don't think we'd see so many advancements of failed politicians. Yeah, it's. I guess I'm torn with that, because I think it makes sense to have term limits, but I also think that, like you said, we have one every election. But people are lazy. They don't want to get involved. They don't want to take the time to do it. And let's face it, sometimes in states like ours, in occupied territory, there's either no candidate or not a good candidate that wants to run in opposition. Yeah. And who would be the delegates at this convention?
Right.
Of all the pool of people out there are the ones that are abusing the Constitution now.
Yeah. So
do you elect a delegate that's already failed you in the Constitution, and do you elect them on an electoral process that's rigged? So we have got the government we deserved. As an apathetic nation, we have taken our hands off the wheel for decades, and now we're left with quite the quagmire. All three branches of government that were supposed to be watchdogs of each other, were co-equally slowly corrupted, equally. So we can't rely on any one branch of government right now to be righteous.
We can't. I was doing an interview recently with some people on the Polite Society podcast, and how we were talking about the ghost gun stuff, and it parlays right into it. One of the things I was thinking when this person was talking is that the government doesn't trust us with ghost guns, yet we don't trust the government, and that's right where you're talking about. We don't trust these people. We don't trust these people to do anything, and they're the ones that are, like you said, we let go of the wheel, and these are the people that have taken over. Oh man! All right, let's talk about the Flag Day event. It's been going on for 9 years. This year, Jan Morgan is going to be speaking. Yep,
Jan Morgan is going to be there. Dan Wos, the author, awesome. Good Gun, Bad Guy, he'll be there. Yanis of Guns and Gadgets.
Very cool.
You're going to be there.
I will. I'm honored to finally make it.
We are going to have another stellar year. We got a great big circus tent, so it's a rain or shine event.
Cool.
The guys there at Century Sportsman Club in Auburn, they've been wonderful hosts. We just love those guys, and they have provided a great venue for us to celebrate every year here.
Has it moved around? Because I think a couple years ago it was out in Western Mass, wasn't it?
It was at another club for the first, I think, 4 or 5 years. First 4 years. And all of a sudden, like many groups, and I was there for this meeting, a member stood up and said that maybe because they got the usual round of calls, you see, cancel culture. Anytime you have a constitutional event, you attract protesters. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, we had him out.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And right where we just drove by up there in Belchtown Common, there was 100 protesters up there. But they call the club and tell them they're racist and tell them they're haters and all this stuff. And one of the members got up and said, if maybe we wouldn't be getting all these calls if you didn't have a bunch of felons and stuff on your agenda. And then he referenced the NRA as an extremist organization. This is a dues-paying member of a sportsman's club. Oof. So I stood up immediately, pretty much told them all as politely as I could to kiss my ass, and left.
Right.
I said there is no shortage of people out there in other clubs that will not sell out. They had a change of heart. They made money each year. They had great recognition. And a couple of wilted daisies got all upset because the cancel culture crowd called up and left mean messages on their answering machine.
All right, I got a crazy question. I don't know if you know who the person was. I don't know how well you know them. Are they a shotgunner? Are they trap shooters? Ski shooters?
I think so.
All right, there we go. I've been saying for a long time that the people that want to carry don't want to hunt. The people that want to hunt don't want to carry, and nobody knows what's going on with the shotgunners. And I firmly believe that the reason this is because the shotgun guys shoot double-barrel shotguns. They shoot over-unders. They do trap skeet. No one's coming after their guns, so they're not concerned about anything. But the anti-gun folks want to go after the double-barrel shotguns as well. It's just further down on the list of things that they want to take away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or or they'll limit the actual shells that they put in those shotguns.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you got a double barrel, if you can't, get 12 gauge anymore.
Yeah, if you can't get ammo, that's another gun control thing that I've noticed is the anti-gun. First of all, the anti-gun folks never give up. But second of all, if they can't come after the guns, or when they try to come after the guns and they don't succeed, then they come after ammo. Yep. Or you shouldn't have this much ammo. You shouldn't have to buy this. You shouldn't have to buy this many rounds of ammunition. Or if you're going to the shooting range, like in California, where you can buy ammo and you have to use it at the range, you can't take that ammo home with you.
No,
it's nuts.
No, I didn't. And they'll pick all the accessories apart on a gun. And,
oh my gosh!
And
right.
Realistically, what they've done, in most cases, the braces and all this stuff. They're
braces, grips, collapsible stocks, flash hider, muzzle brake nonsense.
Most of those things, in the hands of somebody who's not an authorized expert, it makes that weapon safer and easier to manage and handle.
Yeah.
To actually use properly and safely. They're not just, I don't know. They're like vultures picking the flesh off the bones here, because they go in one little piece at a time, and it's obvious to most of us.
I got some friends that call that the salami method.
Yeah.
We're just going to take a little bit. I don't want the whole thing. I just want a little bit here, a little bit here, just a slice. It's nuts.
Yeah, and we should be looking at it like legs of a table. The whole Constitution is kind of like this: is how many legs of the table can you kick out before it becomes unstable and collapses under its own weight?
Yeah.
So the whole thing has to be protected. All of our rights, the Second Amendment for sure. First Amendment, you have probably witnessed yourself doing the types of videos that you do. There's platforms that are probably pretty hostile to your content.
I always tell people nobody watches my show, so it has been under attack. And I say that in jest. I know people all over the place watch it, but nothing yet. I mean, there's part of me that's surprised. Part of me that's surprised. I guess part of me that's not surprised. I did have TikTok recently take me off of TikTok. I had two TikTok channels. One of them was for riding shotgun, and I put all my gungram videos on there, playing the trumpet, shooting a gun. And half of the videos I put up of gungrams were they did not meet community standards. And then they ended up just taking both of them down.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous.
So I mean, they're attacking both at the same time. Both the First Amendment and the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
The First Amendment and many other things. They're trying to limit our voice in advocating for whatever, for those that, find abortion to be their thing. You voice the wrong opinion about Russia and Ukraine right now.
Right.
And you run the risk of being cleansed off the internet. So that's a battle that I've had to face, and currently my wife and I have spoke a lot about this, looked at what's out there, and we're taking this opportunity right now to completely restructure the way we distribute so that there's more stability in our platforms.
Very cool.
We do have to keep pressing information out there, which is what's great about what you do here, is people get to learn. I mentioned Northampton earlier. A couple of years ago, there was another shooting, and there was a group called the Better Angels that was working in the area here, and they had contacted me to participate in one of their panels, and they kind of posed themselves as being like an open dialogue type of get-together. They call the Reds and the Blues. They don't call them Democrats and Republicans, but it's a debate thing that takes place, and they set the scene. And at the time, we were debating whether there should be a ban on assault weapons and a limit on high capacity. I was there, Kirk Watley.
Kirk's awesome.
A couple other people that we didn't know, but were advocates. They held this meeting in Northampton again. So if you're going to do impartial thing. I can think of a better place to do it than that.
Right.
So we were outnumbered, let's say. But
plenty. It's a target-rich environment.
I wish we had recorded the whole thing, because they got up, and just as Dan Wos in his books would describe, they use fear and emotion on every argument. Yeah. They'll bring up some isolated snippet in history, a visual they'll conjure up, and use that to fear and get you all emotional, and then say, we need to do this, and we need to do that. And Kirk and I got up there, and Kirk's pretty well versed on this stuff, more so than myself. And right down the line, well, we already did that. We've already tried that. We're already doing it, one after the other. And those people at the end of it, several of them came out and said, I want to thank you for coming out. I said, we had no idea. We legitimately didn't know. And they were ardently against guns, but they were receptive. I think people like that you can continue a dialogue with, you can advance with. There were others that went by and gave us horrible scowls, us bad guys throwing those facts out there.
Right.
But there's already things on the books that most gun grabbers out there don't even realize are already on the books.
They don't.
And they're failed policies, because you got to look at that next. There's your policy, and it has failed. That's the logical second step, is to evaluate the success of their gun control.
Yeah, I have talked to a number of people that have said politicians they want to come up with some new gun control and some new gun laws, and these are laws that are already on the books that aren't getting enforced. So now they want more laws to enforce when they don't enforce the ones that they have, and the stuff they want is already in the books. I remember I got this book that Charlton Heston wrote. I think it was called For My Grandson, and it or maybe it was called To Be a Man. I think that's what it was called. But in it, he said something along the lines of, rape and murder and crime are already illegal. How do we make it more illegal? It's ridiculous, man.
You know what would reduce rape and burglary and stuff like that? Is if the victims were armed. I can't imagine too many armed rape victims out there. Bet the numbers for that are low.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that people. The thing I think that people don't get is we all learn this in junior high. When you push back against a bully, they kind of leave you alone.
Yeah.
And it's the same. You apply the same logic to this. When you refuse to be a victim to a bad guy, he's gonna look for an easier target, look for an easier victim, and he's not gonna go after you.
Yeah, I've not heard of any mass shootings at gun clubs before. You hear about them at schools, in a city subway where guns are outlawed.
It's nuts. All right, listen, we need to start wrapping things up. Tell us more about the gun event. Tell us how we can find out how to. I'll put links for everything, and I'm sure there's a Facebook event. And how can people find you?
The best way, flagday2arally.com. The number 2, flagday2arally.com. We have some old pictures of past events. We're going to be updating that regularly now as we go into this summer. This year's event is on Saturday, June 11th. And boy, we're going to just pray for great weather again. Every year we've had wonderful weather for this event, and I'm hopeful for this year.
Mother Nature is a gunny, that's why.
Indeed, we had wonderful weather, and it's a family event too, so please bring the whole family, the kids. The guys at the club put on some awesome food.
Yeah, there's vendors. Food. There's what kind of activities are going on? So I mean, obviously you get food and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, we open up a whole section of the property there for vendors to come in. Obviously, we like industry-specific vendors, but pretty much anyone's allowed to come in and set up. We got events for the kids, things for the kids to do. speakers, food, just about every Patriot group you can imagine. We have great attendance from all the surrounding states as well.
Yeah, I remember last year, Eric Pratt from Gun Owners of America came up.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. This year you're going to have Jan Morgan, Jared Yanis is going to be there, Dan Wos is going to be there.
Yeah, I think Chris Pinto from Mass Gun Rights.
Very cool.
He's been a great asset and a help to us here in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And we may have a few more surprises on the way too.
Very cool. Very cool. Last year there were people giving talks and lectures and not quite seminars, but people were up giving speeches about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and we, kind of set this up so, and I push on my people too, the ones that come to this event, take advantage of this time that we have, to get all you guys together. Come with some good questions. Be ready to get involved in things that are actionable.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of little side discussions and little breakouts that happen all the time, and that just strengthens us as a state and starts bringing us together around this important message.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. All right, what else? How we got how everyone can find you, how they can find the event.
Yep, flagday2arally.com is the website.
Yep.
If you're looking, check out the show, republicbroadcasting.org. Saturday nights I'm broadcasting 10 to midnight. My most beautiful wife and quippy co-host does a show on Sunday with me from 7 to 9. You can find that on YouTube and Rumble. We're going to be migrating over to some of these more stable platforms. So don't look for us on Facebook and Twitter because they've cleansed us out of their environment already.
I've all but stopped using Twitter. I still have a Twitter handle. I still put the Riding Shotguns on Twitter, but I don't do anything else on it.
Yeah.
I really don't. It really, I get that you can argue on all social media platforms, but Twitter really seems to be the one where people argue the most.
Yeah. Well, maybe Elon Musk will settle things with them.
That would be cool. That would be a whole other talk. All right, listen, Dave, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity here to hang out with you.
I'm glad you're able to be on. I want to give you a Riding Shotgun with Charlie and a Gungram sticker.
Awesome.
I'll have to dig another one out, and you give one to your wife, and she can put them on her gun cases.
Will.
Cool.
Yep.
Thanks for being on the show. Thank you guys for watching the show. If you have not subscribed, if you are not a member, and if you're not a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, please check them out at saf.org. You can donate to the Citizens Committee for the Committee for the Citizens' Right to Keep and Bear Arms, the CCRBKA. That is where they take donations for check out the CCRBKA. I never remember if it's a .com or a .org. You can find all of your pro-freedom podcasts on sdrn.us. That's the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can catch the Polite Society podcast there. You can catch Eye on the Target there, the Locked and Loaded Latinos. There's just a lot of pro-freedom podcasts that you can check out at sdrn.us. And thank you guys again for watching the show. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.